A property sells really well if it's styled really well, not cluttered, just styled. Some people are fabulously good at that.
You're listening to the She Renovates podcast. You're listening to She Renovates, the podcast for women who want to renovate to create an income and a life they love.
This episode is sponsored by the Renovation Bootcamp. It's the renovation fast track for replacing your income now or at retirement. It's our core training and a prerequisite for our Wonder Women program. It's the perfect mix of online and live training. There are 8 modules delivered online that you can complete at your own pace. Alongside that, we run 8 live Zoom tutorials where you can connect with me and our resident experts to help you to apply the training to your personal circumstances. It includes our signature system, the one that we use to produce an average of $100,000 profit from Cosmetic Plus renovations, plus a repertoire of strategies to make sure that you can progress regardless of what's happening in the market. If you'd like to know more, go to www.theschoolofrenovating.com/bootcamp. Hello, it's Bernadette back with another episode of She Renovates, and today I have Charmaine Smith here. Charmaine is it right to say you're a serial renovator, Charmaine?
Yes, you could probably do that. I am.
And she's a very hands-on renovator. So Charmaine and I are like chalk and cheese in the renovating department, but she has a fascinating story and she is doing amazing things with renovating and property in general. And so I've invited her on to share a bit about her story and how she goes about the process. So welcome, Charmaine.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me to such an interesting thing for the girls out there.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, just for it to kick us off, if you'd like to share a bit about your background and how you actually came to renovating.
Oh, okay. Long way back. I was an art student after high school, and then a fashion design student, and then I had a business in fashion for many years until we had the recession we had to have. Thank you, Mr. Keating. Everybody remembers that one. And I then decided to go into real estate, given that I have a fascination and interest for property. So I actually am a licensed real estate agent, but don't tell anyone. I didn't like general brokerage, so I hunted down and became involved in off-the-plan project marketing, which involves being involved in building works. So over the last 22 years, I've been selling high-end, high-profile apartment properties for many, many developers and real estate agents. And just having a love for property, I started doing my own thing on the side, as it were, as a bit of a hobby. I did a few things beforehand. I had an apartment in Thredbo that I drove down and renovated. That was a big trip. I've renovated the office for the Fire Brigade Credit Union, given my father was a senior fireman at the time. I built a house in North Katoomba from scratch, a bit hands-on there, but I did have a builder. And I built a Australian-style cottage, timber cottage. It was gorgeous. And then I bought in South Katoomba a derelict house. My God, what was I biting off? And that turned into an amazing, amazing property. And I should have kept it, but I did sell it. I did make a profit. I bought it for $275. I put in about $80,000 and I sold it for about $550. So there was some good return in that one. And gosh, I bought a property down in Ulladulla, which I keep in my superannuation, and that I renovated hands-on as well. I mean, I do enlist electricians and plumbers for things that I'm not legally able to do. So, and apart from that, heavy things, I can't lift heavy things. I've collected a bit of a team of people in different areas that I, call upon. But now I'm finalizing a renovation on my own warehouse in Erskineville, finishing off a garage, studio and loft, which is steel and concrete. I'm more of a contemporary style in my own property. But when I do renovations, I tend to like traditional cottages. And then balancing that with a full-time job over this last year has been a bit different because full-time job disappeared with COVID, but that's okay. I'm not worried about that.
Yeah. So it sounds like you do all the carpentry yourself?
Not all carpentry. No, I have a carpenter that I work with, but we work together. I tend to employ tradies that are okay with me being hands-on and involved. A lot of the fellows don't like girls on the job. I don't know. That's a sad thought for them. But, if I have to build something, I'll build it. When it comes to plumbing, that's not that difficult. I do all stormwater plumbing. I do all the trenching work myself, digging holes. If you want to get fit, seriously, if you want good abs, you start digging trenches, and you'll lose weight and get fit very, very, very quickly. But I do as much as I can. My electrician is a good friend of mine, so he shows me how to wire up, and I just do it. I've wired a lot of lights up, and then I do need to get someone like him to check it and sign it off. You don't just do it. But painting, silicone work, I hate anybody doing silicone. I'm really fussy. I get a bit fussy about things like that. But I'll do whatever plaster work needed, sanding, hate sanding plaster, but whatever you need to do. If I can't do it myself, I will get someone else to do it.
Wow. I hate sanding plaster too. In fact, I hate anything DIY, to be honest. I've done my share of it too, but I gave it up. But you must have collected a reasonable toolkit.
Look, I don't have high-end tools. I'd like to, but I'm pretty hard on my tools. I actually quite like the lower end, the Ozito range. You burn it out, you throw it away. Sorry about landfill, sorry. And then, you go find another one. But I do have quite a lot of tools. Every time I visit my parents, I always take a carload of tools because there's always something that needs to be done and fixed, and then I can, I don't like being without my tools. So yeah, reasonable. I do have 7-meter high scaffolding, which is quite good fun. I do enjoy that.
Wow.
Yeah. But scaffolding, if you want to lose weight and get fit, run around scaffolding for a couple of months, and you just tone up absolutely so quickly. Forget the gym, it costs too much.
Beautiful. So I'm gathering that your projects, you don't turn them over quickly.
Oh, look, we all try to. The one on my own home, that's been a slow grind, mostly because I've been working my day job as well as doing this, and also waiting for trades. I only like to use certain people, and you've really got to wait for them to be available, and that's not always good. But first house I built in Katoomba, I actually advertised it through forsalebyowner.com, blah, blah. That was sold before it was finished. I never even got a chance to style it. A lady was walking up the driveway with her husband, and she said, "This is it. I want this," and she just had to have it at any price. So that was pretty handy. And then the second house in Katoomba that I renovated, it was the same story. I think that was only on the market for about 3 weeks. I think people can see quality. So, if you do the job right and you don't dodgy over things, then people see that there is work having to be done. And if you can show them photos of what you have done along the way, then they can trust and believe that the renovation is a good job.
Absolutely.
Which is important.
The quality of the reno is definitely a key to getting a decent price. So who would have been your role models, or who are the people that inspire you?
Oh, well, my mother, she's one of these people that's a can-do person. She taught me how to sew when I was terribly young, and she's hands-on. Anything needed fixing around the house. My father was a fireman. We very rarely saw him. So, Mum just had to do everything. So she just taught me. And then just watching, being on building sites for my job, I was always watching what the trades were doing and ask questions. When you're in Bunnings looking at products, don't bother asking a Bunnings person because generally they don't know. There's always a 1-800 number on a product, no matter what you're looking at, that you can ring. And the technical advice guys or girls maybe, are really, really, really happy to help you with their product and advise. So information is so out there now, it doesn't take much. I mean, you can YouTube and do things, but most of YouTube videos are internationally based and don't cover the kind of products that we have here or our Australian standards. We have incredibly high standards in Australia on building, so you've got to be careful to follow a YouTube. But anyway, it does give you some help and some ideas. I like rendering. That's one of my little passions. I really do enjoy rendering. And you watch a few YouTube kind of videos and you think, oh, God, I do it my way. I do it a bit differently.
Charmaine, I'm in complete awe.
I just like hard work. I mean, I'm getting older now, so it's getting a bit harder, but still, if you get out there and do it and be physical. And look, even if it's, with rendering, I rendered a garden wall here in my house with paper and cement. I thought I'd just try this. I mixed up cement with shredded paper and mushed it all up and spread it all over the wall. I really like it. Some people think it's not so fabulous, but I think for me, for what I wanted, that soft sort of look, I think it worked really incredibly well. But you do have to paint it and seal it really seriously because it's paper; it will melt underneath.
Wow, so you like to experiment.
Very much so. I do molding. I did a short course in molding, went out to Mudgee Winery with a wonderful teacher by the name of Claire Tennant. She's a professional casting molder, and she taught a group of us how to mold. So now if I have a piece broken on a ceiling that you just can't find another, you can create a mold and then remold it and attach it. All sorts of little things. I actually molded my parents' hands, which was a gorgeous thing. And now at my front gate, I have a sculpture of my parents' hands, which is really quite sweet. But if you've got something broken in a heritage home, it's impossible and very expensive to find that little broken corner. And if you have another corner that's right, you can silicone mold it and make a cast, and then boom, you can make as many as you like after that.
That's amazing. Yeah, those skills are priceless because it's not just the saving of the money, it's the time and the grief you go through trying to find the solution.
Oh, absolutely. You call companies that are frantic and busy. And, I actually tried to connect with a company up in Newcastle to find some framework for bifold doors. And it was disappointing, actually. This technical advisor, he said, listen, lady, I don't have time for this. And he hung up on me. And I was like, you serious? And then not so long after, I had an email because apparently I ended up on their database. So that, our company is amazing and we're here to help. So I sent them a message back, well, Brett's not, and explained why. And then I get a phone call from this guy. He said, I didn't say that. And I said, well, yes, you did. So, sometimes it can be a bit difficult. I ended up just importing the bifold doors from China instead. I do a lot of importing of product if I need it. It's not so hard, but you got to be careful there.
Yes, funny about that.
Yes.
Do you go to China to source?
No need to get on an airplane. Many years ago I did when I was importing silk fabric for the fashion label that I had. It was very difficult with the language barrier, but now there's plenty of good websites and I tend to prefer Alibaba. Most people have heard of it. Yes. The only problem is you generally have to buy in bulk, which is not so stressful, but I just bought one set, very large bifold, specific size, exactly what I wanted. They created a video of it, built and finished, packed it in flat pack and sent it to Australia. Happy days, and it's beautiful. It works really incredibly well and for an amazingly good price. So that's all about research. It takes a lot of time. People think it's easy, but it's hours and hours and hours of evening after work time research to find products that you want, and then to feel like you trust the company at the other end and paying them the money up front and then hoping that it gets here. It generally does. They do have an insurance protection system.
I have bought supplies from Alibaba, more particularly light fittings and paneling and things like that. Yeah, I did have one instance where I ordered silk pillowcases from Alibaba, and this same company did El Cheapo satin ones, and they sent me the satin ones, which were about 20% of the price. And I gave up in the end. But sometimes that guarantee works and sometimes it doesn't. But anyhow. Yeah. So in terms of your budgeting for your project, do you calculate in your time on an hourly rate? Like, do you allow for that?
Look, on my home, no. My home is it's my passion. You know, it's like my sculpture. It's my finale of building works. So, you know, I'm putting in, yes, I've been very budget wise, but, you know, I'm putting in a lot of hours. You know, my partner who was just calling always gives me a hard time for, you know, you don't value your time. But when you find you're passionate about it, for me, time is irrelevant. I'm happy to do it. And at the end of the day, but when I buy a property to specifically renovate and on sell, then I don't start from the bottom and work up. I start with, because I'm very good at 3D visualizing a finished product. I can see what I can do with it and I know what it's going to look like, probably given my art background. But I do a lot of research in an area and make sure I know what properties are selling for, if they have this, that, or whatever, new kitchen, new bathroom, extended, whatever. So I start with the end price. If I'm going to sell it for X, what is it going to cost me to do the renovation, not including my time? And then what am I going to pay for it? You know, so it doesn't matter what a person has it on the market for, it's what I think the value is. And then that's what I'm going to pay for it. And that includes my solicitor's stamp duty and whatever else goes involved on that. And then if there's a reasonable profit in that, worthy of, you know, being away from home and doing all the hard yards, then I'm happy with that. And so do you have a particular strategy for building wealth? Are you following a strategy, or are you just being guided by the opportunities that present to you in terms of building wealth with renovating? Oh, I'd like to say I had a really good strategy, but for me, it's more is a particular area, a growth area, what is going there. I guess that's a strategy. What kind of property is going to sell well once it's renovated? Maybe that's a strategy. I have a property down on the south coast in my superannuation, which has been with community housing. I just rent it with community housing. And that's been there about 4 years now. Well, it's about time to bulldoze and rebuild. So the land's big enough to put 2 houses on. But I probably would use a project home builder on that one. It's a bit hands-free, and I can just keep doing what I do in Sydney and just walk away from that and just wait for it to be turnkey and finished. Yeah, I think it depends on the property, you know, the land, whether it's worth doing a project home, whether it's worth talking to a local builder, whether it's worth, you know, what value you're going to bring it, whether it's worth doing some just small trick ups. You can do some really reasonably small trick ups and make a place look fabulous, especially gardens. A lot of properties for sale tend to neglect the garden but paint the front of the house, or do the inside and not do the outside. And real estate agents, as we all know, tend to be a little relaxed in showing people. So you just do a drive-by, and if you like it, I'll show you through. So yeah, that doesn't always help. But I don't know. I don't think I'm the sort of person that has, in my mind, has a strategy. Maybe I do. Yeah. And one of the things that I find when I'm just working on projects, I find it quite lonely. So you're clearly someone, would you call yourself an introvert? No, not really. I'm a Leo. I'm quite a sociable person. However, I do like working on my own, and being in project marketing off the plan, I'm often manning a sales suite on my own. I mean, I don't care. I work either way. I can work with a team or I can work on my own. And I'm not a lonely person. I don't have that gene. You know, I don't have loneliness. I don't have jealousy. There's a few things that I just don't feel. For years, I've lived on my own since I was 22 when I bought this house. So I'm used to it. Personally, I think that's one of the things about with whatever you do, you really need to know yourself and to like sort of design your life around what works for you. Mm.
because I can tell you if I was doing what you're doing, I would not last 2 weeks.
Oh, well, I've spent a lot of time camping out, sleeping on the floor, moving camp bed from room to room to renovate a room and move to the next room. I've actually lived quite rough working on it, but I find it rather exciting for me. It works for me. I mean, it's not going to work for everybody, you know.
No. Yeah. I just find it really fascinating, the sort of multitude of ways that I'm saying women, not exclusively women, but because we're talking about women, choose to articulate their love of renovating. Like I was talking to someone recently who is a passionate renovator, and she and her partner drive around the outback doing renovations for people.
Oh, good on them.
Yeah,
Good
so
on.
I'm going to get her to come onto the podcast. And I just think it's really amazing. And I think it demonstrates how versatile a skill it is to be able to design your life around it and design a life that's so full of creativity and joy, and do it in a way that works for you.
Yeah, I'm a bit committed in the city for the time being. I have a 20-year-old cat, so I kind of can't go too far until he drops off the perch. But it would be wonderful to go country town to country town, travel Australia, and do some things for free. You know, some older folk that maybe need the fence painting or something. You know, it's like, why not just go and lend a hand?
How awesome would that be?
I know, it would be pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It would, when money becomes not such the issue and you can actually give back a little bit in life with what you do. And if you enjoy it, then why not?
Yeah. Actually, something we did a couple of years ago is we support an organisation that runs quite a few orphanages in Thailand. And we actually bought a property and renovated it so that we could give the profit to them to help them run the orphanages. So we did that, like bought, renovate and sold. So a lot of our students helped, and it was a big team effort. And we made 120,000 in profit. Like the impact that has on, you know, little kids that have had a really rough start in life. It's just, it makes you feel like you're doing something worthwhile.
Yeah, that's it. It does make you feel like you're doing something worthwhile. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So there's a potential for a lot of good. Now, what would you say your 3 top tips would be for women who are thinking about getting into renovating? What would you say what are the things that they should consider?
It depends on whether they're going to be hands-on. If you are going to be on the tools and be involved, or even so, if you're not hands-on, I think you need a good team. You know, your electrician, call him the Sparky. You need your plumber. You need your carpenter. You'll need contacts for scaffold company. You need those connections, and have a nice book. Keep all your notes, keep all your contacts, and you can just flick your pages and go to it. So I think you need to be organized with your contacts. I think if you're just going to buy and renovate, doesn't matter what area, I think you need to research your suburbs. Personally, I like regional. Firstly, it's affordable, but also I mean, everybody knows the exodus out of Sydney at the moment, but regionals are really moving up in price, and they're being well sought after. A lot of people don't want to renovate. They just want to go to a nice country town and go, oh, well, that's gorgeous, and just buy it. So you might find doing your homework on what is available and what sells once it's been renovated. So you do your realestate.com or your domain.com research. You know, keep your file notes for all of that. Hot tips: rest. You know, eat well, rest, which is something I probably am short of. But I don't know, have a good accountant. Have a really good. I mean, if you don't have a good accountant, you probably have someone you could suggest. But I've got a great guy, and also a good solicitor to look over contracts. I mean, I've bought it. The second house I bought up in Katoomba, I just said to the agent, I'll pop in now and sign the contract, because the contract was only like 6 pages thick. You know, it was pretty easy. They panicked as, oh no, we can't do that. Well, you can, but anyway. So having a good solicitor at an affordable price to go through your contracts and advise you. Don't always think with your heart. You know, think with your research and get a building inspection. It's all very well. Building inspections will always be a 200-page scary document, but you got to look through that a little bit. But one thing people tend not to do is get a plumbing inspection. A lot of old homes have terracotta pipes, and that can be a really huge expense if you have to dig them up and replace them. And make sure in your contract where your easements are. Sorry, I'm giving you a whole bunch here. Where your easements are. You don't want to buy a property and think you're going to extend, and then you've got a sewer line straight underneath or something. So,
I think the really great thing, Charmaine, is while you and I might be at odds with how we actually deliver the result, we are completely aligned with those aspects of renovating. So we're definitely singing from the same hymn book.
Yeah. Just go in with your eyes open, that's all. Test the market, check it out, be aware, know your budget. Budgets always blow out. It just happens. But, you're going to find lots of stuff on Facebook Marketplace and Gumtree and maybe even eBay that's going to be affordable that you can fix up and make it just work. Not that I actually ever get to the point of styling. Most of my properties sell before I get there, which is such a shame. I'd actually like to do that. But a property sells really well if it's styled really well, not cluttered, just styled. Some people are fabulously good at that. I'm not sure that I am, but I think styling is good, and you can sell it yourself so long as you're prepared to put in the time to do that.
I think the thing with selling is, I think you need to be aware of your limitations personally, and there are some people that cannot sell. Now, obviously, you do it you do it professionally. But yeah, the other thing you're saying about budgets always blow out, I absolutely agree with that. And often I look at it, so we put in a contingency, but it almost always goes over a few thousand. If I increase the budget, it would still go over a few thousand. By keeping it tight, it keeps you really honest it makes you work harder. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah, that's right. It makes you focused on looking for options.
Yeah.
And researching. It's like the kitchen I bought a sink, and like I said, the kitchen came with it just from Gumtree, and it's a perfectly reasonable 1-year-old IKEA kitchen. I didn't have to put it together, which was quite good. But for $500, I had to add 5 more units. So for about $1,500, I've got a kitchen that's worth $4,000. So, that extra money that I've saved, well, I can do a Caesar benchtop instead of another product, which I wouldn't use anything else but anyway. But, you can kind of I budgeted there, I can use that over there. There's always going to be a bit of a blowout. So you do have to be careful. I mean, just be savvy when you're buying paints. Go to Dulux. Do things like get your Dulux trade card, get your Bunnings trade card. They save you 5% here and there. But at Dulux, my local guys, they have cans of paint that just seem to be the wrong color for somebody, they mixed it wrong. But if it's an undercoat, does it really matter? You're going to paint over it anyway. I got a 15-liter can of undercoat, which normally would cost $200. I got $38. I mean, that's amazing. Sorry, I'm a little budget queen. That's just an amazing saving, so that's there for me to do a whole stack of painting. I got some rendering paint. This lovely fellow over on the north side had this great idea of doing some rendering, and he sold all of this rendering paint for $60, which I know is worth hundreds of dollars. So, I'm happy with that.
I love it. Actually, I did an episode with one of our Reno queens, Michelle Lewis, much earlier. We went through a whole heap of tips for, doing a budget reno. She's very similar. She goes around, gets secondhand kitchens and makes epic profits on really low price properties. Like the most recent one she bought in Adelaide for $195,000, I think it was, and turned it into a $400,000 property. So, yeah.
I have a connection with the lady, Karen Baldwin. She's in Adelaide, and she turns around some amazing properties at great profits in that area. The thing, if you're in Sydney, it's really hard in Sydney City to afford to buy the basic product before you can actually do the reno to da. That's why I quite like regional. I mean, Adelaide is, let's not say regional, but Adelaide isn't affordable, for under 300,000. But then you can do that in East Maitland or Cessnock, or not so much Orange or Bathurst anymore. They're pretty popular locations. Goulburn, beautiful homes in Goulburn that you can do fabulous things with and turn it around. But you have to get off your backside and go there.
Absolutely, yeah. Actually, an area that we love is Newcastle.
Yeah.
I had a student recently come through, end of last year. She came through our boot camp and she was hell-bent on doing her first reno. Seriously, she was just out the door. She bought a property in Newcastle for $285,000 and did a $50,000 reno. No, so she used trades. She had it turned over in about 6 to 8 weeks.
Good on her.
And she made a tidy $55,000 profit.
Good on her. Or a house.
It was a house.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Mind you, Newcastle's going off at the moment. Yeah, she's just got her next one. I think she paid $380 for that. But yeah, so it definitely can be done. But it's like anything, you do need to research and you've got to know your market inside out.
Yeah, every area has its wrong side of the street.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the Blue Mountains, you have to be on the east side of the highway, not the west side. It's like, really? It's across the road. But, it's just a local thing. Even here in Sydney on the way up to, like, Gordon, if you're on the west side of Gordon, we couldn't sell an apartment building there for love nor money. But if it had been on the other side of the highway, it would have sold double the money. So it's kind of silly. But you got to know these things and you got to go and talk to the local people. Local bakery and maybe go to the pub and ask a few people, hey, where's a good spot around here?
Yeah.
Go with what is a classic one for having a location. So yeah, everything's like that.
Well, listen, I want to thank you for your time. I've really enjoyed the chat. I think you've brought a different perspective to renovating, and I feel certain that our listeners will really love this episode. I'm just wondering whether you would like to share some images of your renos with us.
Yeah, absolutely. because I'm so busy, I never get a chance to update my Facebook page, but I've been doing that madly over the last couple of days. I'm so not even halfway there. So it's my Facebook page is Oikos Properties. I can email you that anyway, the link.
That would be great, and we will include that in the show notes. Yeah, so thank you. So for those who are listening, I hope you enjoyed that, and I will make sure that we get Charmaine's Facebook page linked to you so you can check out her work. We always love to get reviews because it helps to share the love and let people know that what great content we've got on this She Renovates podcast. So if you have time to write a review, we would so appreciate it. And that's it for this week. Thanks so much, Charmaine, and thanks everyone for listening.
This is the She Renovates podcast. To discover how to harness the power of renovating, check out theschoolofrenovating.com.